Mason County has had a stormwater task force in place for some time, looking at options for funding a clean water program. What do you hope will be the outcome of this effort? And do you believe that the county needs additional staff devoted to compliance?
Well, I was part of this, right? I was part of the original grant when I was a commissioner. It's in its last year. The lady, Jane, I believe, I can't remember the last name now, but no, she's been working very hard on this. One of the previous debates I mentioned about the setbacks, and one reason is because of septic systems. People need to build away from the water. Another is docks. People don't realize that docks have, for the sun and the depth. And so the county sometimes looks at the depth, I get it right, the docks, and it creates some problems for marine life on that. But it's coming, this whole process is coming to a head, and I'm not sure the exact date of when this is going to happen.
Thank you. Terry?
I've spent a lot of time trying to understand this issue and where we are with this. So what's happened, where we are now is that the task force has forwarded a recommendation to the county commissioners, and they're recommending $1.4 million to be spent on stormwater abatement and to basically clean the filters and to do pollution identification control programs and public education. This is a significant amount over what we're currently spending out of our public works budget of about $600,000. The other option is if now this 1.4 million, I think, is being recommended that it be a vote of the people, or at least a charge to each property owner for stormwater coverage. The other option is, should this not go to the people's vote or a commission councilmatic increase, is that we would just continue with the $685,000 program. Our shellfish industry is concerned that if we don't keep a heavy effort on keeping our stormwater programs moving and effective, that we'll see our water qualities go down, and then we'll start addressing the stormwater, and it'll get better, and then it'll go down, and they're looking for some stability there, because obviously our water quality has a lot to do with the effectiveness and the ability for our shellfish industries to be productive and successful. So the outcome, I think, I'm predicting that the current county commission will allow the new commissioners to take up this issue and decide whether or not there will be a tax or a levy on each of the parcels. And will it need additional staff? The partnership that's going on right now with I don't think it will need more staff.
Thank you. Ross?
Well, my opponent mentioned stormwater. When people don't realize our highway system is probably the biggest polluter of stormwater, and DOT sometimes overlooks this fact. The shellfish industry is a very viable industry in this county, as previously mentioned by the legislative candidates. Like the pulp paper mill created a lot of bad things for the county. Right now, Oakland Bay is almost eatable, swimmable in all areas, but we have to keep moving forward and look for other options.
Thank you. Terry, one more minute.
Yes, it is true, and we've heard a lot about the fact that state highways contribute a lot to our stormwater problems, and the state legislature has tried to address that by having a payback program. If a county were to charge itself for its own stormwater contribution to its county roads, then you can charge the state. Was talking with Loretta Swanson, who does the stormwater task force and our stormwater efforts in public works, and she's recommending to the county commissioners that it's not worth the effort, and you probably get more done through a voluntary partnership with the state. it is true, the state needs to come to the table, probably in a more significant manner than they've done, but I do applaud the legislature for at least making the work to have them be somewhat accountable for their stormwater. I think that's all I need to say. Well, no, I did want to say a little bit more about the staffing, but I didn't get to finish that one. So I think another thing that the city commissioners have done that's been pretty impressive is the partnership. I just lost it. Partnership with Squaxin Tribe on the pollution control.
Thank you. So Terry, we often hear politicians talk about attracting business to our area. Assuming that you also want to attract business and jobs, what specific proposals would you put forward to do that? Your answer should include your vision for land use and for infrastructure.
And I appreciate the fact that the question does identify and understand that land use and infrastructure is essential to attracting businesses and any kind of economic activity. Because underneath it all is the land. Is that land buildable? Is there permission to build? I love that term. Is there permission to even build on that land? That has to do with our zoning laws. Are our zoning laws up to speed? We spent my time on the planning commission was kind of the first crack at our zoning designations and the permitted uses, and we ended up with a matrix of allowed uses in various zoning areas or zoning designations. I think that's too prescriptive. I'll admit, I made a mistake. That was way too prescriptive. I think we need to be more performance measures or have performance-based designations of our zoning areas and even in our development codes, and make sure that we are ready to invite and partner with somebody that needs the land to be zoned and correctly, have the infrastructure in place in the areas we want to have commercial development, and fund it through growth-related revenues, real estate excise tax, sales tax on construction. We're going to go ahead and grab that sales tax on construction and put it aside and dedicate it to infrastructure development, as well as the property tax that is charged on new construction. Those are ways to fund it. I think that we can have a service culture in our community development, our permitting department. I think they do a pretty good job, but I would like to have a real service culture developed where we are there as partners first and regulators second. And once a business identifies and understands that this is a place that wants us here and is ready for us, that will attract businesses.
Thank you. Russ?
Yeah, omitting a sales tax isn't good. Several projects have kept this county afloat, namely but I like the Belcar Sewer project, sales taxes on that. Also, the recent PUD building, which is like a $46 million project, and the county benefited from that. But also, we have excellent infrastructure. Johns Prairie has rail service. Not a lot of communities have that anymore, and it's being maintained for good use. But a while back, we had a company that was very vital to this community and union, and they became international. Gerbing heated gloves. And Gerbing wanted to expand, but the Port of Shelton didn't have adequate services for them, so they moved to Tumwater. And now I believe they're in North Carolina. But that was a good business. We could have used it and employed local people. When I was growing up in the city, when I was growing up in the 60s, I came to work at Simpson, and I just walked off the street. Okay, you're good enough. You're going to be on the Second Street. And those days are gone. We need people who are adequately educated. Simpson today wouldn't even consider hiring anybody without a high school education. When I worked there, there were 3 people who couldn't read or write. And now we need people who are highly educated to do the jobs of the future.
Thank you.
I wanted to clarify, sales tax, taking sales tax on construction and dedicating it to infrastructure development is I think, a very good idea. Yes, the county depends on sales tax on government-related construction jobs. It's a great little bit of money, a pot of money to have, but you cannot depend on sales tax on construction for your ongoing programs all the time. The business cycles, the dips and uphills of the housing market, and how often are you doing these public works building constructions or having Highway 3 widened? That isn't often enough for you to start depending on that kind of money for ongoing programs, and that's why I think it's important to set that aside for your one-time costs of infrastructure development.
Do I give one?
You have the next question. So
I
Ross,
thought it ended for all of them.
oh, I'm terribly sorry, you're right.
Gotcha. All right. When things went south on this county, we were anticipating a growth of 8% sales tax. Thurston County was anticipating in their budget 15%. And since in the 09 and 10 budgets, we planned for 0 growth in sales tax. And if these other projects come along, so be it. We can use that as money, but we're counting his plans for 0 growth. From right now, our sales tax, we're ahead of the game as estimated. And I thought I got the red one, but you can't rely, oh, we're got this big project. That's pretty good, but that's it.
so with that, Ross, you get this next question. Lawsuits against the county are especially concerning due to tough budget times. Some have called recent lawsuits frivolous and just part of doing business, while others have said they could be avoided. What is your opinion, and do you have specific ideas when it comes to dealing with these?
Well, I was kind of on the ground level of one of them, and I had no part, in the initiation of that. But also, when I was a commissioner, we got sued on public records to the tune of close to $400,000. But the county rate, when you're at the risk pool, you have a deductible, and actually in reality it costs each of those cases was $10,000 each, even though people were paid on that. And with the sewer one, that burden is on the sewer. I thought originally it was on the risk pool covered it, but it didn't. And the county tried to work with Mr. Johnson numerous times, and it just became, when I was out of office by then, and it just kept progressing and progressing on that. But, and the other one about the garbage, there was some question about if it was a closed meeting or not. I wasn't there. But contracts, need to be vetted, but also, if you know if a contract's going to be due, and your department head all of a sudden said, oh yeah, we're supposed to have done this 3 months ago. That's what it appeared to me what happened with the garbage one.
Terry?
Okay, so the question is, could they have been avoided? Of course, yes, they could have. So what do we do from here? You learn from the mistakes, and you move forward. And I think that, in particular, the issue around the unfair labor practice charge, I think I was taught about a model that the state uses, and the OFM department uses, where you take, okay, yes, we do have 12 unions, and that does make it very difficult to negotiate fair contracts for all of them across the board, especially when the first one in might get a little less than the last one out. It's been suggested, and I think this is really going to need to look into, is to have the economic portion of because they have multiple unions as well as state workers. And then the workplace conditions and those sorts of things could be negotiated individually. I think that also would help even out some of the issues of having some of the union members of one of the unions say, you know, we kind of take what we think we negotiated was fair, and then another union comes in and they get a lot more, and then we feel a little bit bad about that. I think that would help kind of create a more collegial atmosphere among the employees, make it a lot predictable for the county commission in the budgeting process, and hopefully make it a little bit easier. It was also suggested that maybe we do what also the state does, and have our union contracts negotiated by a third party that's hired on behalf of the commissioners. So the Human Resources Department is more involved in workplace safety, the health and benefit issues, and the hiring and the firing, and have that awesome responsibility of union contracts be put on a professional who does this for a living. I think that's probably one thing to look at, and I'd like to study more in depth.
Ross?
Well, it's true, we have a number of bargaining unit people, and I also like to see, you know, uniform health allotment. The people in the jail actually got a increase, and now the other outfits, you know, bargaining unit one, with that, the benefits of that too. But we just need, I have real good faith in our HR department. They're in the process, I believe, in the next few days of interviewing an actual director. The director they have right now is an interim. And a while back, I was responsible for hiring Karen Jackson, and I felt very good with her. And but unfortunately, she decided to move.
Thank you.
And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about the just in general about the lawsuits, and I studied them because I do believe that you can learn from your mistakes, and I studied what happened, you know, how did we get to where we're good, and obviously it depends on the kind of information who you're talking to and the public records that you're given. But what I noted, the common theme was just not always paying attention to the fine details of issues, and there's a lot coming at you. And so, lesson learned for me personally, if you vote for me and if I'm hired to be your commissioner, is to spend the hours and hours and hours paying attention to the detail and talking to everybody involved. And just frankly, you know, be there, show up and be there for some of these things. Again, I don't want to cast aspersions on the city commission, but I think that some diligence can be happened, and we learn some lessons.
Thank you. That concludes the question portion. Like the other candidates, you'll each have 2 minutes for your closing statements. Again, as you begin, please share with us one new idea that you would like to bring with you to the job. Terry, if we can hear from you first.
Okay. I would like to, I also have been trying to participate as much as I can in the budget process, and I really want to revamp that whole entire process. I was asked in a previous forum, what would be a sign of success in your first year? And my response was that our budget hearings with people that knew exactly where in the budget they think there ought to be some changes, some things that could be done differently, because the budget's transparent, the process is transparent. They have a clear understanding of what the role of county government is, what they're mandated to do by the feds, and what kind of nice to haves are some of the things that we have because of the unique our county. I think that our budget planning processes and how we decide how much money goes where should also be tied to performance measures. And so we can have our budget hearing and workshop time also be a report card time. Okay, we gave ourselves the goal to lower our property crime rate by 5%, and we increased the number of deputies by 3. Did we make our goal? Did we get our return on investment on that? How did we do? If we didn't, why? Maybe what happened that made us not hit the mark? You know, was there whatever? You know, whatever the social climate might have been, or whatever the extraneous reasons that you can't meet that mark. I'd really like to see that happen because I think that the voters really want to know what's going on. I constantly get asked as I'm doorbelling, what does county government do? You know, and I go through the list and everything. I would love all of you to be totally clear in your minds. This is the role of your county. These are the services I should expect from them. This is probably how many employees it would take to get there. And boy, we could do a lot better over here, here, and here. If we put some of this money over in that bucket and put that money over in that bucket. Oh, guess what? You can't do it because it's designated by the legislative authority. And just to be really understanding what we are here for.
Ross, your 2-minute closing, as well as a new idea that you'd like to bring with you to the job.
Well, actually, I have 3. One is people want to talk about governments coming together, meeting together. And so the problem is when you get governments actually meet together. And I'd like to follow the example of Thurston County. They have a 5th Wednesday meeting. All the governments really don't have meetings on Wednesday. So the county, the courts, and I want school boards, the city, and maybe fire districts too, but we all get together 4 times a year. And also, what are our common goals? What do we need to do? Another one is advisory ballot for the fairgrounds. It can happen, and I believe we could get it on one of the school day levies, and or maybe it won't be till the general election. The other is no time limit on public input. The county right now has 15 minutes, 5 people, you have 5 minutes per person. And today at the county commission meeting, nobody wanted to talk. So that was kind of rare. But I think if we initiated that policy, then, yeah, there'd be some people that use it at first, and then people will have the courtesy for other people on that. But also in closing, I want to remind everybody, I've been an elected official for 15 years. My opponent has no elected experience. I have no special interest, and my brochure right here says no special interest. However, the real estate community is spending thousands of dollars for my opponent to send up the county commission. And with me, there's no learning curve. I'm ready to serve on November 27th. And she talks about doorbelling. Well, I doorbell over 3,300 houses. And that's it.
I'd like to thank both Terry and Ross for joining us tonight, as well as the other candidates. And thank everybody for spending your evening with us and learning a little bit more about your candidates. Again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for co-sponsoring tonight, Mason County Web TV for live streaming. And I'd also like to thank 2 of my Governmental Affairs Committee members, Sam Sevier and Patty Case, who are with us here tonight too. Thank you everyone, and have a good evening.